Throughout history, certain names carry a weight that hangs heavy in the air. They are symbols, omens, burdens carried through time. Moloch is perhaps one that hangs heavier than most. His story is one of fire and fear, and of a price so steep it still chills the soul. But who, or what, was Moloch? Was he a god, a demon, or merely a dark reflection of humanity's willingness to sacrifice everything in the name of power? Moloch's reputation spans millennia, rooted in the ancient religions of the Near East. In the Hebrew Bible, he is condemned as a god worshipped by neighboring cultures who practiced child sacrifice. Over time, his image evolved from that of a deity to a demonic figure in Christian and occult traditions. To his followers, Moloch represented power and prosperity, but to his critics he was a symbol of depravity and corruption, a dark mirror reflecting humanity's worst instincts. In this video, we'll uncover the origins of Moloch, tracing his roots to the Canaanite pantheon and beyond. We'll explore the harrowing rituals associated with his worship, dissect his transformation from a god of ancient sacrifice to a demon of Christian law, and examine the modern myths and conspiracies that keep his name alive. As we delve into the depths of Moloch's story, one question remains. How much are we willing to sacrifice to gain what we desire most? The story of Moloch begins in the ancient Near East, amidst the fertile lands of Canaan and surrounding regions. These were societies deeply rooted in agrarian cycles, where the promise of abundant harvests and protection from calamity often rested on the favor of their gods. Early texts suggest he was revered as a god of fire, his essence intertwined with the scorching flames that symbolized both destruction and renewal. It was believed that only through offerings of great value could his favor be secured, and the cost was often unimaginable. Moloch's infamy is cemented in religious texts, most notably the Hebrew Bible, where he is portrayed as the god of a detested and forbidden practice. In Leviticus 18:21, the Israelites are warned, "Do not give any of your children to be sacrificed to Moloch, for you must not profane the name of your God." Deuteronomy 12:31 goes further, condemning the neighboring tribes who burned their sons and daughters in fire to their gods. These passages paint a grim picture of Moloch's worship, emphasizing the brutal act of child sacrifice as central to his rites. The imagery of flames consuming the innocent became a powerful symbol of corruption and idolatry. The figure of Moloch has sparked intense scholarly debate. Was he a literal deity worshipped by the Canaanites, or was his name a title symbolizing a type of ritual? Some scholars suggest that Moloch wasn't a singular god, but rather a representation of a specific form of sacrifice, with the term derived from the Hebrew word melech, meaning king, a word that means sacrifice in the closely related Punic language. Others argue that Moloch was personified over time, evolving into a feared symbol of human excess and depravity. Regardless of his origins, the name Moloch continues to evoke dread, embodying a dark chapter of ancient religious practices. Devotees believed that to gain Moloch's favor, they had to offer their most precious gift, their children. The sacrifices were carried out with grim ceremony, often amidst chants and prayers meant to drown out the cries of the victims. These acts were seen not as barbaric, but as sacred, a grim transaction meant to ensure the prosperity of the community. Moloch was thought to reward such sacrifices with bountiful harvests, victory in war, or protection from disaster. Central to Moloch's worship were the imposing bronze idols said to represent the deity. These statues were often crafted with outstretched hands, designed to cradle the sacrificial offering before it was consumed by fire. In some accounts, the hollow interiors of these idols were heated until they glowed red-hot, turning them into both symbols and instruments of destruction. Historical records describe rituals where the children were placed into the idol's hands, sliding into the flames below. The air would grow thick with smoke, the wails of mourners blending with the rhythmic chants of the priests. These rituals were not merely acts of devotion. They were spectacles of power, meant to display humanity's submission to the divine. The flames consuming the offerings were a grim reflection of the cycle of life and death, where destruction was required to pave the way for new growth. Moloch's worship was not just about appeasement, but about embracing the paradox of life's fragility and resilience, with the fire acting as a bridge between the mortal and divine. Moloch's rites were born from desperation. In a world plagued by uncertainty, famine, war, and disease, such sacrifices were seen as necessary to secure divine intervention. To these ancient people, Moloch embodied the cruel bargain of survival: appease the merciless forces of nature or suffer its wrath. His worship reflects the lengths humanity will go to in times of dire need, where even the unthinkable becomes a rational choice. Moloch's flames became a symbol of the human condition itself, caught between the fear of loss and the hope for prosperity. Moloch's transformation from a revered deity to a feared demon is a story shaped by time and theology. In the ancient world, Moloch was seen as a god of power and necessity, albeit one whose worship demanded horrifying sacrifices. However, as the Hebrew Bible condemned the practices associated with him, Moloch's image began to shift. By the time of early Christianity, he was no longer seen as a god, but as a demon, one of many fallen beings aligned with Satan himself. This demonization was a tool of moral and spiritual instruction, casting Moloch as a cautionary figure, a symbol of idolatry and human depravity. He became the embodiment of excess and corruption, his fire no longer a source of renewal, but of eternal torment. In the realm of demonology, Moloch has cemented his place as a high-ranking demon, often associated with greed, sacrifice, and corruption. His name is invoked in rituals of power and destruction, reflecting his origins as a force that demanded ultimate sacrifices. Demonologists describe him as a being of fire, wielding both physical and spiritual flame to consume and torment. He is said to tempt humans into acts of greed and betrayal, urging them to sacrifice their humanity for fleeting gains. In infernal hierarchies, Moloch represents the extreme cost of ambition, an eternal warning to those who seek power at any price. Conspiracy theories link him to secret societies and shadowy rituals, painting him as a patron of greed and sacrificial practices in the pursuit of power. In some occult texts, Moloch is invoked as a force of destruction, a being capable of obliterating obstacles in exchange for profound sacrifices. Meanwhile, in popular culture, his name is a shorthand for ruthless ambition, appearing in novels, films, and media as an archetype of unyielding greed and the loss of morality. Whether as a demonic force or a cautionary metaphor, Moloch's influence remains alive in both the spiritual and cultural imagination. His name appears in conspiracy theories, linking him to secretive rituals, shadowy elites, and the pursuit of unchecked power. Unlike his biblical condemnation as a demon or idol, Moloch has been reimagined as a symbol of the sacrifices made in the name of ambition, greed, and control. These narratives paint him not only as an ancient deity, but as a dark force still lurking in the corridors of power, a reminder that humanity's willingness to sacrifice remains as potent as ever. Perhaps the most infamous modern association with Moloch is the Bohemian Grove rituals, a highly secretive gathering of influential and political figures in Northern California. While officially dismissed as theatrical performances, the centerpiece of these rituals involves an owl statue, often attributed to Moloch, and a dramatic act involving the burning of a mock human effigy. The owl, a symbol of wisdom, has been reinterpreted as a stand-in for the ancient deity, sparking fears of occult practices among the global elite. These theories, fueled by leaked images and video footage, have made Moloch a haunting spectre in discussions of power, secrecy, and morality. Moloch has also become a symbol of unchecked greed and corruption, often invoked in discussions of societal sacrifice. His name surfaces in political discourse, whether it's the exploitation of labor, environmental destruction, or the pursuit of wealth at the expense of morality. Moloch's fire becomes a fitting image for this modern greed, a consuming force that spares nothing in its hunger for more. In this context, Moloch's ancient rituals echo chillingly in the sacrifices made today for the altar of ambition. These modern interpretations of Moloch carry striking parallels to his ancient worship. Then, as now, people sought to appease forces they couldn't fully control, offering sacrifices in exchange for security, prosperity, or power. Whether through fire or metaphorical flames, Moloch's story reveals a timeless truth. The greater the ambition, the greater the cost. In both the rituals of the past and the systems of the present, the sacrifices may change, but the desperation remains the same. A reflection of humanity's enduring fear of losing what we value most. Are these modern stories about Moloch merely reflections of our deepest anxieties about power and corruption? Or do they hint at something far more insidious, a continuity of practices that have existed in the shadows for centuries? The truth may remain elusive, but one thing is clear. Whether myth or reality, Moloch's shadow stretches across time, heavy and unshaken, leaving an indelible mark on the human psyche. Moloch's shadow looms large over history, theology, and culture, from the ancient rituals of fire and sacrifice to his transformation into a demon of greed and corruption. His legacy serves as a stark reminder of the costs humanity has been willing to pay in pursuit of power and prosperity. His name has become a symbol of the ultimate price, one paid with innocence and life itself. Whether invoked as a warning against idolatry in sacred texts or reimagined in modern conspiracy theories, Moloch endures as a figure of fascination and fear. His story is not just one of the past, but a reflection of our ongoing struggles with ambition, morality, and the sacrifices we deem acceptable. Was Moloch truly a god, a demon, or merely a cautionary tale of humanity's darkest instincts? His legacy forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about the nature of power, sacrifice, and our willingness to submit to forces beyond our control. As we close this chapter, one truth remains undeniable. Moloch's story continues to hang heavy in the air, like a storm that never breaks. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Moloch's dark and haunting legacy. This topic stirs complex emotions and questions. If you have insights about Moloch, we invite you to share them in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found this discussion valuable, please like and subscribe to continue exploring history's shadowy depths together. Until next time, may the light guide you through the shadows of the unknown.